This episode of Recording Studio Rockstars is brought to you by Isotope, Native Instruments, SAE Institute, Atom Audio, Spectra 1964, and Picker. In fact, you're hearing my voice right now, recorded through a Spectra 1964 STX 100 mic pre and mixed with Isotope, Ozone, and RX on Atom Audio monitors and headphones. Grab my free mixing course at Mixmaster Bundle with the link in the show notes below. And please make sure to visit our fantastic sponsors also in the show notes and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel because it's a great way to help support this show. Now get ready to rock.
If you listen to Katy Perry's California Girls in Atmos and then switch it to the stereo, the amount of kick drum in the Atmos mix is crazy. And I think it's great. It's super cool. You don't really notice it in the stereo, which makes sense because it wasn't mixed for it was mixed for car speakers and, the mall and stuff like that. So everything needed to be small and to fit in those smaller speakers. But Atmos, you could have the full kick drum and have the weight of it. I love how that record sounds in Atmos.
So that is a pretty cool point. That's a good reminder for us too, that we can experience new ways to think about how the music goes together with the difference in formats.
Totally.
Welcome to Recording Studio Rockstars. I'm Lid Shaw, and this is the podcast created to help you become a rock star of the recording studio. Dreaming of a career in audio or the entertainment business? SAE Institute Nashville, in the heart of Music Row, offers hands-on programs where you'll learn on professional-grade gear with industry pros, learning through real projects, not just lectures. Explore studio production, live sound, audio for film, and a whole lot more. Or take the entertainment business program to learn about contracts, promotion, and more. With diploma, associate, and bachelor's programs, there's a path for you. Book a tour today at nashville.sae.edu or call 615-244-5848. Howdy, Rockstars. It's your host, Lid Shaw, and welcome back to Recording Studio Rockstars, bringing you into the studio to learn from recording professionals so that you can make your best record ever and be a rock star of the studio yourself. My guest today is Ryan Nasci, a multi-platinum mixer and engineer based in Los Angeles. Ryan has worked with Harry Styles, Portugal the Man, Young the Giant, and The Head and the Heart, blending technical precision with creative intuition to help artists shape their sound. He's also collaborated with legendary producer Jeff Basker on major recordings and brings that same big-picture perspective to every mix. From chart-topping pop to soulful indie rock, Ryan's mixes are all about depth, emotion, and clarity that connects. A big thank you to Michael Estock at Court Street Studios for the introduction. Please welcome Ryan Nasci to Recording Studio Rockstars. Ryan, my friend, are you ready to rock, dude?
I am very ready to rock. Thank you. Thanks for the intro.
Yeah, man, I'm glad to have you here, and it's nice to meet you. I'm trying to remember, is this the first time we're meeting, or had we already met before that as well when we were introduced by Michael?
This is the first time. Yeah, first time. Yeah, I met Michael recently. We're actually both from the same hometown in Youngstown, Ohio. So I met him recently. I've been doing some mixes for him.
Yeah, and Michael was a guest on the show a long time ago, I think. I think we did it when an interview, maybe when he was, I'm trying to remember if he was still in Ohio at the time or not. But so tell us where you are now.
So I'm in Los Angeles, in my studio in Studio City. Just moved into this new room like a month and a half ago. So still getting used to things, but so far so
cool.
Good. Sounds good in here. Yeah.
Cool. And I see some nice wood finish in your space behind you and stuff, and curtains up and stuff. What's the lay of the land there for your studio setup?
So I have, so it's a pretty spacious room. I'd say it's like 400 square feet. Some vaulted ceilings, which are nice. And then for my monitors, I have some ATC SCM20s, HDA rig, some outboard gear, some like overstayer, MAS, a Burl, outboard gear, and other odds and ends, the coil audio, CA 286S preamps, which I use a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Got a little tape machine over here, an old Ampex 440, which I
Oh,
recently
right
bought.
on, man. Those are great.
Yeah, that's incredible. I had an old what was it? It was a TIAC, and it was fine. But this thing is just, yeah. I was like, if you're gonna do tape, might as
And
well.
is the 440? Is it sort of like the big 4 modules above the tape machine or something like that? What's that? How do you describe
This one's
it?
funny because it is that, but it's in like a custom rack. So the modules are actually below the tape machine,
Okay.
The transport. So it's a little funky looking, but it still sounds great. So and it still works great. A buddy of mine
And
who
what's
works at Conway sold it to me recently. It's been like teched and
Oh, cool.
everything sounds great. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, in Los Angeles, you've still probably got a great support team for analog tape there, so people can fix things
There's a
up.
lot of techs. Yeah, and there's some younger ones coming up too, which is good because like a lot of the good techs are they're older, so not going to be around forever. So I think they've been kind of sharing their knowledge, and there's some younger techs that are like, kind of carrying the next wave, which is great. We definitely need that.
That's crucial. That's crucial. I had I worked with a guy named Steve Sadler here for years, who was known as along with Randy Blevins as the MCI guys. And
oh, nice.
Steve was great. He could fix anything, but then he passed, and it was like,
that knowledge is kind of
luckily
gone.
Chris Mara at Welcome to 1979 sort of picked up the mantle with the MCIs.
Right.
Does the Mara machines now. But Ampex are great. And some of the older ones, you sort of have to manually, like on, I think it was the 1000 or something, you had to manually flip yourself in and out of input and repro with a physical switch on the channel.
I've not used one of those. I mean, I mainly use this as like an effect. I'm not like recording to tape.
Yeah.
Mainly just to run signal through and get the actual sound of tape, because I feel like there's no plugin that really quite gets it right. So having the real thing is handy.
Well, I mean, it's really I mean, the plugins are great and it's really fun to have them, but it's like trying to compare a real guitar with a digital guitar or something like that. It's still going to be
totally.
There might be a sonic closeness at times, but it's still not exactly the same experience. It's nice
and
to
they
just
can be useful. Like,
grab a knob.
Totally, and the plugins are totally useful, and I use them all the time. But yeah, there's something real about the tape machine.
Yeah. So, have you had much chance to experiment with it as far as trying different tape speeds and different alignments and stuff like that, or is it sort of new territory for you?
I haven't missed the alignment. It was like all aligned when I bought it, so it sounded good right off the bat. The bias was sounding good. I tried the slower tape speed, like the 7.5 ips. I kind of like the 15, and just playing with how hard to hit it. That's kind of where. And I got some. What did I get? The recording the masters. I think I got the 911 tape stock. Which also sounds good.
Isn't the 911, as I recall, is that the one that's sort of an archival tape format, or am I mixing that up? So there's a lot of fun experiments that I've learned about with the tape stuff, like, overbiasing to sort of, overbiasing and then boosting the record EQ to like, sort of knock down the S's on vocals, messing with record bias just for different levels of distortion and versus non-distortion on the tape.
Nice.
And of course, just slamming it. And then also, if you do go look at your 7.5 ips again, I remember discovering that was it has a dub quality. So if you're ever doing something you want it to sound super dub, it's kind of a nice zone for it.
We were working on a record. I was actually at Conway, and we were doing some. They didn't have. I think the only tape machine we had access to there was a ATR 102, but we wanted to use it for like effects and whatnot. And we knocked it down to the 3.75 ips to see like.
Oh wow, that's like cassette speed, right?
Exactly, but it still sounded great. We were surprised at how good that speed set, because those machines are just so good. The quality is just so high. We still couldn't get it like quite grimy enough, but it, was a little more grimy.
Nice. Well, if you ever get a chance to find a 3-head cassette deck, that's another great one for doing tape tricks in the studio. And that definitely gets grimy sounding, or an old 4-track. So you sort of bounce it off the repro head in real time and bring it back in, or do you just record it and then rewind the tape and play it back in?
I'll do it in real time. Yeah, I'll just do it in real time and then tap a transient and shift it to where it needs to be and then make sure there's no drift. But gonna get down and dirty like that.
And then are you aware of the tape bounce trick you can do where you can actually overdub that way if you want?
I don't think so, no.
So I'll share that here just because I think our listeners will dig that too. So if you set up 2 inputs into Pro Tools and then you just mult the output of your signal chain, let's say you're doing a vocal overdub, you mult the output of that, and then you bring one input directly into Pro Tools and you leave that track audible while you're working. And then the other input goes over to the tape machine and bounces off the repro head and then comes back in, and you mute it while you're working.
Right.
Then at the end, usually it's a pretty consistent delay, so you can actually measure that and figure out what the shift is. And then when you're done doing your overdubs and recording and punching and everything, you just go in and like shift your audio tracks, the tape ones, back in time and mute the Pro Tools one, and now you've got all tape overdubs.
Right. Yeah, I have done stuff like that before, where you just take this signal out and, definitely done that.
Yeah, that's fun. Ryan, tell us more about yourself, man. So how did you get started out in recording and find yourself in LA working on big records?
Let's see. I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio. And then I played in band all throughout middle school, high school, played in bands with some friends. Then I went to University of Cincinnati and studied. They have I think they still have it now. It's the electronic media program. So it was like audio, video, web design, kind of an all-encompassing program. So I kind of got interested in recording there. So me and my friend in high school, we were, recorded in his basement, and that kind of started the bug. I wasn't sure if it could actually be like a career, but then my roommate ended up being Maurice Ellis, who is an incredible bass player. And I'm also a bass player. So watching him play, I was like, I don't have those chops. So I kind of got into recording. He was like, hey man, you're really good at recording. So I ended up taking that path in college. So
what sort of music do you think you were into growing up and playing and stuff?
Definitely a lot of like classic rock, big Jimi Hendrix fan, big Led Zeppelin. Try to learn as much Jaco Pastorius as I could, because that's so difficult.
Right.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, learning like every Flea bass line. So all that rock stuff. Yeah.
And are you still playing bass?
I do every now and then. Yeah, I try to keep up with it, just for fun. And sometimes I'll play on tracks. But yeah.
I feel like Cincinnati's a pretty good classic rock.
Region I think Ohio in general has a good, there's something in the water. There's a lot of good rock bands that come from Ohio. You got, Black Keys, Pretenders. Cincinnati has the whole like old school funk scene with Parliament Funk and George Clinton and Bootsy Collins.
Yeah.
Bootsy Collins actually came to UC a few times and like did a show there. So that was pretty cool.
So the Funkadelic was coming but they were sort of out of Detroit, weren't they too? Or is Cincinnati, it's all related, or was it Cincinnati?
I think it might all be related. There's Ohio players too.
Yeah.
There's definitely some of that funky stuff.
Right on, man. Right on.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you found your way out to LA?
Yeah, so after college, I did an internship. I did an internship at Tree Lady Studios in Pittsburgh first. So I met Garrett and Dave Heideck and Dylan over there. And then after that internship, I did an internship at CRC in Chicago. That was like right at the end of college. And then after Chicago, I was debating, I was like, oh, maybe I could stay in Chicago and like, become an assistant at CRC, but they were selling their Neve console at the time. The scene, it just felt like it was kind of dying out a little bit. It wasn't really happening.
Yeah.
So one of the other interns there, he knew some people out in LA. I had some other friends from Cincinnati moving out to LA. So I was like, all right, let me just give it LA a shot. Might as well. So I just jumped in the car and drove out, slept on some couches for a while. So yeah. So right after college, kind of
Right
moved out
on it.
here.
And is CRC still going as a studio? Because I mean, we were in there a couple of times when I was in Chicago as well back in the 90s. And they were one of those studios that would just, they were working a lot, I think. They'd do anything like from
it was somewhat
commercials
busy.
and whatever.
Yeah, their commercial music was massive. They had a lot of commercial music studios when I was there.
Yeah.
I think they moved. I think I heard. Oh, who was I talking to? I think they moved the building. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Right on.
Yeah.
So then you went out to LA, and did you land at a particular studio out there?
Yeah. So the intern at CRC I was friends with, he was friends with Justin Herget, who was an assistant for Tony Maserati. So I moved out here. I hit up Justin, see if they needed any help around the studio. Tony was kind of building like a team at the time. So there was Tony in the studio. There was Chris Tabron renting a room in that facility. John Castelli was renting a room in that facility. So I ended up assisting John mainly, and then Tony occasionally, and just kind of being part of that whole team. I tried getting internships at like NRG, Henson, and just no luck. But I think it worked out because I'm so close with all those guys.
Yeah. Describe what it's like to be in LA making music, though, for people who haven't experienced that. I mean, I noticed from my time out there, there's just such a deep history of sound and video and music and everything. It kind of is amazing,
Yeah, I think that's why I moved out here, because all my favorite albums were made out here. So I was like, well, if I want to learn how to make records, I think LA is the place to be. So yeah, there's a big history. Everybody's coming out here to do the same thing. There's an energy to it. I think that's a major role in the music making, is like the energy that is in a city.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and there's just, it's like everything. We even mentioned the support for tape machines. I mean,
yeah,
the tech side of it goes very deep too. I mean, there used to be, when I was there was still Fry Electronics and stuff like that.
Yep.
These kind of electronic, almost junk store, places where you could go shop for stuff and get parts.
There's a place in Burbank called. Go ahead. There's a place in Burbank called Foam Mart. So like if you need like foam we would go get foam for like for speakers, for like to put underneath the speakers and stuff. Like anything you need. We would just go and get some high density foam, stuff like that.
That's what I mean. It's very industrious. Like you can find stuff you need.
Exactly.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, dig it. So you're in a new space now. So after you had your experience there, well, actually, let's dive in a little bit. So, like working with Tony, what were some things? Do you have any sort of stories you remember from working with Tony, or stuff that you remember immediately being struck by and learning?
Yeah, I think my first time walking into his studio and seeing all of his gear. At the time he was using like his hybrid mix system. So he had his Neve Melbourne console, the Chandler mini mixer, and a bunch of outboard gear. And seeing the precision at which he was, like every mix, he was recalling all the gear, being extremely precise. That's what struck me about Tony. Because I came up Chicago and Tree Lady, definitely great studios, super professional, but like they just didn't have quite the level of precision that Tony has with his mixing and his workflow. So that struck me. Um, and then, yeah, just the amount of attention he paid to details and getting the gain right and just the technical side of things. He really was making sure everything was hitting his gear the way he wanted to hit it and everything was working. Yeah, that really struck me with his professionalism.
Rockstars, if you want the ultimate toolkit for your music, check out Complete 15 from Native Instruments. With 165 instruments and over 150,000 sounds to choose from, it is the most powerful creative tool in your studio. From Contact 8 to Massive X, Battery, and Guitar Rig 7 Pro, you've got everything you need to create in any genre. Pair that with Native Instruments control keyboards and machine hardware, and you get next level integration that makes music creation fun, fast, and seamless. Head on over to nativeinstruments.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Yeah, there's a level of engineering precision that we get to experience as engineers and those kind of studio setups. Now, how do you feel like that fascination with the precision has carried on to the mixing digitally now for you?
I mean, for me, I think it's really just, having good gain structure, setting up systems where I can have control of the gain structure. And then also, going back to the tape machine, like trying to introduce some randomness, because sometimes it's a little too clinical. It's actually gotten way easier. I feel like you're not like calibrating gear as much. I'm not like calibrating, the inputs in Pro Tools anymore as much. It's just gotten easier, I think. So now it's more about introducing like, how do we get more chaos? How do we get more, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you, did you start out with like the Pro Tools 88824 interfaces and stuff like that? Or was it a little later?
I started
than that
with
for you?
like, my first interface was probably like an M-Box.
Okay. Yeah. Not a lot of calibration with an M-Box, but you did have to set your input level.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And your blend level and stuff like that.
Yep,
But yeah, on the Pro Tools 888s, the first, some of the first interfaces, they had little screws right on the front of each input and output, and you just set your inputs and outputs doing calibration. And all the way through my HD 192s, but I think my current ones don't have any calibration other than just digital calibration inside, which is probably
it's definitely gotten easier. Which is great. I mean, who wants to be sitting there calibrating digital inputs?
Yeah. So what kind of things do get calibrated for you now? Is it sort of like clip gaining tracks that you receive when you're going to start a mix to sort of make sure they're in the right ballpark before you begin mixing?
Yeah. I try. I mean, unless a mix is very like tightly wound and already has a sound, and I really don't want to mess with how it sounds, because sometimes you start clip gaining things and gain structuring things and it just completely falls apart. If that's not the case, I'll kind of clip gain the tracks, as long as there's no compressor on the insert or whatever. Make sure the compression's being hit the same. If there's a compressor, I'll just commit it, then clip gain it. I'll clip gain it, get it to a level, because I run all of my mixes through an Overstair MAS into a burl, so I want to hit that a certain way. And then the burl's nice too, because then you could just kind of calibrate the converter down if you start hitting things too hard. Or
so you're taking an original track and then you're sort of running it out through some gear and recapturing it, so that it, does that give you a chance to sort of tonally dial it in a way that you would have liked to do if you had recorded it in the studio in the first place?
Yeah, it depends. Like sometimes if I feel like some tracks need a bit more life, I'll go through and like run them through I have some Heritage Audio mic pre's, the 1073 mic pre's, EQs. I'll run it through those to give it a little more life. And sometimes it doesn't need anything. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to meet Jeff Turzo out there yet?
I have. Yeah, I've been to his house. I bought this Overstair. It had to have been 2017, I think is when I bought it. So I've had that unit for a while. It's been on a lot of mixes.
Yeah. That's cool. I've never used the overstair yet. I'm embarrassed to say I haven't had a chance to try it out yet, but
They're
everybody
cool.
just
They're really
swears
cool.
that
They're pretty
amazing.
wild. Yeah, so I have the MAS on the mix bus. I also have the overstair stereo, I think it's the stereo field effect VCA compressor. I was using that as my mix bus compressor for a while, but it's pretty heavy handed sometimes. So
yeah,
it's good for drums.
Why don't you go ahead and, if you don't mind, explain to the rock stars what you meant when you said I would clip gain it unless there was a compressor on it, and then I would print it first.
Yeah, so if you clip gain the signal, and there's a compressor on the insert, that's going to change how the compressor is hitting that signal, and so it's going to change the sound. So if I want to stay true to what the sound is and what the producer has got with that compressor, how they're hitting it, I don't want to mess with how it's where the threshold is. And I don't want to guess either. Where like if I like clip gain it down by 6 dB, I don't want to have to guess where the threshold needs to be set to be hitting it the same way. So I'd rather just commit what's going on. If the audio is like peaking in Pro Tools, then I'll bring the clip gain down and turn the fader up. Because typically the fader will be at like -20, and then the audio is just peaking in Pro Tools, which kind of drives me nuts. So
yeah, and there are some instances in the computer and mixing where it's like you can bring up the output of one thing and then just bring down the input of the next thing the same amount, and it sort of evens out. But to your point, there are times where you do that and it's like I don't know, I think it changed it.
Exactly. Or if something's routed to a bus and like everything's bused to one, like a drum bus or something. Yeah. A lot of the times I'll get something that's routed to a drum bus with a compressor on it. I'm like, well, I'm not going to change. At least to start, if once I start mixing and like get to a place where I feel like I'm kind of getting the right vibe and I could push it, maybe I'll change some things, but yeah. Try not to mess with things too much right off the bat.
Why do we even want to mess with clip gaining and gain staging in the first place? How do you like to describe that to somebody as far as why were you even talking about that?
To me, it's just having the right amount of headroom so you can, you're able to make moves throughout the mix. You're able to, give yourself space to create dynamics with rides and also so you're not hitting the gear in a way where things start clamping down. I mean, sometimes that's cool, but you want to be able to have the ability to hit it and not be hampered by, having no headroom. Because sometimes it's great, like just having no headroom at the end of a mix. But I think for me, it's the process of getting there as opposed to starting with no headroom and then kind of trying to like wiggle my way around,
And are you usually talking about a track coming in and it's a little too hot and you're having to clip gain it down versus something that was recorded too quietly that you have to boost up?
Yeah, it's usually too hot. Like, yeah, I would say 90% of the time it's too hot. If it's too quiet, to me, that's great because then I have room to play and I have room to work with things and I have room. I could push different frequencies. I could have a lot more room. So it's definitely about just giving myself room.
And so if you want to bring down the levels of stuff, clip gain like on the actual clip on the track rather than a trim plugin or something like that. Is there much of a difference between the two? I guess a trim plugin would use one of the plugin slots in Pro Tools, so that's a reason to not do it that way.
Yeah, but sometimes I could actually, to my point of if there's a compressor or like some saturation, I'll put a trim plugin after that and trim it so I have more fader to use.
Just like
that would be an instance where
just like probably the Heritage Audio, any of the boutique and 1073s would have the ability to jack up the input, but then they might have an output attenuation on it too, so that you can push it hard, but then bring the level back down, right? Yeah.
Yep, I use that all the time.
Even a tape machine, you could just crank the input and then bring the output back down.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all about how hard you want to hit, the iron in there, the transformer or the tape or the tubes.
Yeah. And you mentioned having the coil mic preamps. Are those transformer as well?
Those are tube preamps. Yeah, those are nice.
Tubes. All right.
They're really cool. They're like modeled after the like Telefunken kind of European style. They make the CA70, which is like the Western, like the RCA style American tubes, and these are like the more European, little bit like really detailed mid range. Yeah, I'll just like use them for guitars to like kind of like give them a little bit more life. They're cool on vocals. Sometimes I'll do like I'll patch them in to the mix bus and like mix through the two coils, kind of gives some things some life. You kind of lose a little of the sub, but like if there's like a folky record where you don't need sub, they're great for that.
Yeah. That's cool. Can you sometimes in a mix setting run it through something like that, get a quality, and then just like parallel blend it back with the source stuff to retain lows or anything like that?
I haven't done that. To me, it just would get phasey in my mind.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
I do that with the MAS. Like there's a mix setting. Usually it's set to like 70% wet on the MAS. For something like the coils, I'm kind of all or nothing with that. Like if it's going to work, it's going to work. If not, then it's not. I'll do something else.
Yeah, it's really fun when you get into that world of running audio out through gear and back in. And you can get favorite. Remarkable results, but it is time consuming too, right? Like you probably really have to put some time into individually going through each track and making sure that it's addressed before you can start moving.
Totally. I'd rather spend the time though of getting the tracks sounding interesting instead of like trying to fight a sound that I'm not agreeing with. If I could just get the guitar sound to be cool by just running it through a preamp and hitting it a certain way instead of putting like 5 plugins on, I'd much rather do that. Yeah. It just feels more real to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a lot of fun when I've done it too. All right. Well, so let me think. You clearly are somebody who really appreciates systems, and you're doing a lot of mixing now. So talk to us a little bit about your tools, your things that allow you to interface with the computer that give you a sense of flow. Do you like to use controllers? Do you get into things like sound flow and automation and stuff like that as far as your systems for mixing?
I haven't any of that kind of stuff. I've tried SoundFlow. Yeah, SoundFlow didn't really resonate with me, so I don't really use that. I do have an artist mix for faders. I think that's pretty important to have a good set of faders for rides and being able to like do a quick blend if I get something where I'm not like being too meticulous about making sure I don't have to change the rough too much. I can just pull the faders down, get a quick blend. To me, that's much quicker than sitting there with a mouse and clicking each fader. I have a rock solid audio. It's a little MIDI controller. Actually, I'll just show it to you. It's pretty cool. I don't know if you've ever seen these things.
Very cool. I haven't used it yet, but I think they look super promising.
It's great. I really enjoy it. You could basically.
Do you want to show it, but also sort of describe what we're seeing?
Yeah. So basically, this is like it's a USB MIDI controller that's modeled after a SSL channel.
Yeah.
And you could basically route any SSL or any plugin you want to this. They have like this mouse mode thing, so you just kind of tell your mouse, okay, this is where you want it to do, and you make presets with their interface, and basically just control like an SSL, which is great. So you have a bit more of a tactile feel. You can determine how fast you want the knobs to feel. They're all push button too, so that feels a bit more like, I don't know, just tactile. Kind of, you could feel like you're touching the audio as opposed to just clicking on a mouse.
So with mouse mode, would that thing actually control pretty much any kind of plugin? Like would it control a synthesizer if you wanted it to?
Probably. I would. Yeah, I think I'd use this for like, I had set up like the Waves SSL channel strip. I mainly use the SSL, the Plugin Alliance 9000J channel strip. That's my go-to one. I also set this up for like their Lindell Audio, the API style channel strip as well. So I would imagine you could do a synth with this.
Yeah, it's kind of fun when you think about controllers that let you just, like, they grab your mouse and then they just put it on the knob, the thing on the
Yeah.
screen that you want to adjust, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that really, really handy, really fun.
Yeah, as I recall, those are also pretty affordable.
Yeah. I think
Like
they're like
priced really nicely.
$200, something like that. Yeah. It's not too bad.
Oh, that's super affordable. And then I think they make the one that looks like an SSL channel strip, and they make one that is just sort of black and white. It's a little more like amorphous, like could be anything.
Yeah, you could get, exactly. You could route it to whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, dig it. I know I use the SSL UC1, and that will interface with a lot of plugins, but I tend to use it with the SSL plugin. But just my point is that just having, like you said, the tactile for grabbing a fader, grabbing a knob and adjusting EQ and using your ears and your feel, your fingers is just, it's a great experience. It lets you just like listen to what it sounds like instead of looking at the numbers on a screen and stuff.
Yeah, there's a more immediate connection to it.
Yeah.
I find.
Did you find that you started making bolder EQ moves when you did that?
Oh yeah, because you're not looking at like how much you're boosting. You're just listening, and then you look at it and you're like, wow, it's that happens to me a lot in when I'm tracking. I'll just like be trying to get a sound, and then I'll look and be like, well, that's a crazy EQ move, but hey, it sounds good. It's fine,
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
Yeah. That's awesome. Rockstars, are you ready to unlock the full potential of your mixes and masters? Then you need iZotope Ozone 12. This complete tool set gives you 20 pro modules, including the new bass control, unlimiter, and stem EQ, plus the IRC5 maximizer for loud, clean mixes and masters without distortion, including the new mastering assistant that guides, not decides, so you are always in control. Go to iZotope.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Well, here, let me see. Any other things that help you dial in your mixing system? Like, do you use any tools that make it super easy to, assemble a mix into a template from raw tracks or anything like that?
No, I do that all. I'll just go through. I like going through the tracks and like kind of getting an understanding of what's there.
Yeah.
The only thing I do have a script through Keyboard Maestro that my friend Justin actually wrote for stems. So that's the one thing I do that helps. So I don't have to sit there and like.
Oh, very interesting.
Because I'm running everything through the Burl and the MAS. I want to get the stems, so I have to print each stem individually. So there's a script that just takes over the keyboard and just makes the track. It'll make a track, record, new playlist, select another set of tracks, record. It'll just do that, however many times you want.
Wow, so that's very handy.
It's super handy. So yeah, I'll just like run that, go do something else, take a break, or run it when I'm done at night if I need to make stems. Yeah, so I'll have to sit there and do it.
I use Keyboard Maestro for stuff too. In fact, I'm using it for the podcast even, although the software I also use must have changed its button icons because now it's broken. I got to recreate the button recognition. But it is kind of amazing what's possible when you start exploring that world. Are there other things where you've heard of people using... I'm actually blanking on the name. How do we describe Keyboard Maestro? We'd call it
like a macro.
Macro creator, right? Yeah. So have you learned about other really cool things people are using macros for in the studios?
I mean, I know a lot of people use SoundFlow. I know people use it for like, I think Andrew Sheps, doesn't he like has a macro?
He has
bounce. It'll bounce it and then put it in Dropbox. It'll put it in a folder. It'll do all those small steps.
Yeah. Bounce Factory, I think, is but it does, tons of advanced stuff. But it's but it's fun, when you get into the world of Keyboard Maestro too, even in SoundFlow, you can get deep into learning how to set it up yourself for custom workflows. And I have found, and maybe you felt this way too, that it's awesome that there are tools that will do things for us, but inevitably, kind of like you printing your own sounds one track at a time, we discover that like I really just need it to do it my way. I need it to
I want the control.
Sort of work the way I want it to help me with my session.
Yeah, and if I need to change something up, I'm able to just change it up instead of having to like reprogram something or be stuck with the whatever script I have. I don't know. To me, it's just doing it is a bit more flexible than sometimes having the macros.
Yeah. So just to sum it up, Rockstars, with these macro tools like Keyboard Maestro, you can program it. You could set up something where like you create your own fancy quick key combination, and then it triggers it, or you just press a button and it goes, and then it'll type things in, it'll open programs, it'll open close windows, it'll see if something's complete. You can tell it to wait for a moment before it does the next move. You can have it do things on a timer, and it will move your mouse around the screen, and it'll just recognize, the image of something. What does it look like? Oh, the button looks like that? Okay, good. So kind of like your eyeballs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty fun stuff. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about some of these cool records you're having a chance to make.
Sure.
I think you had mentioned that the new Kingfish album is coming out, and then also the Celeste
it just
album
came out. Yeah, the Kingfish album came out. It was 2 weeks ago. I mixed that whole album. That was super fun.
This will be out later than that, but that's cool. It's cool stuff. So tell us about Kingfish for those of us that don't know anything about it.
So Kingfish is a blues guitar player, young guy, incredible player. I met another producer who worked on 2 of the tracks, actually through cycling. I'm a big cycling nut. There's a good cycling.
Oh man,
scene
you
out
and
here with
Michael
a lot of
Brower.
musicians. Yeah, exactly. Actually, I'm friends with Ryan Gilligan. He was Brower's assistant for a while. Another like.
Oh yeah, I know Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't remember if I've met Ryan or if we were talking about him on his interview. Probably.
But yeah, so he's another cyclist. He worked with Brower in New York for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this producer met him on a bike ride, and he was talking about producing this Kingfish record. I was like, yeah, I know Kingfish. I'd love to mix it. So yeah, I ended up mixing his album, and yeah, it was great. It was fun. Actually, I got the tape machine for that record because I wanted like to get some of that, I don't know, the old school kind of bluesy, grittier sound for him.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's a cool way to work too. If you, I guess we all do it. If we've got a little bit of a heads up on a record we want to do, we'll sort of prepare our system or a studio for it.
Yeah.
But I know, like my buddy Chris James, who's been on the show, I know he will spend a lot of effort and time seeking out, a specific old console or something like that just to get that sound for a record he's mixing. And it's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun project to like mix guitar, do more guitar mixing forward, as opposed to like always having the vocal be the main feature.
Yeah. What do you feel like you learned new and different about guitar with that one?
New about guitar on that one.
I guess
I did try Eddie Kramer's trick where you take, so to get the wild, like out of phase panning effect, you take the signal, flip the phase, and I ran it through. So I had the signal, ran through the tape machine, duplicated the signal, ran it through the tape machine, flipped the phase. Then I had another signal in the middle, all of the same track. So basically multing the track, but duplicating the tracks in Pro Tools. And then since the phase was flipped on the right side and the left side, I would use the faders as pan knobs. So if you move the left fader up, the guitar is going to come up on the left side more. Move the right fader up, and if you switch them, it kind of does that weird phasing thing where it feels like you're like it's outside your head. It was
That's
really cool.
That's
And like,
fun.
if you listen to, what Jimi Hendrix song is it? It's off Electric
And
Ladyland.
is the tape helpful for that too? Does that give it a little bit of timing
Little variance.
variation as
Yeah.
well?
I think that's
Yeah.
important to have. Because if you just dupe it and do it, it'll work and it sounds cool. But the tape gives that extra little, like, that little variance that it needs to like really get the width that you're looking for. I'm sure there's other ways you could do
Yeah.
it with a plugin too, but that was super cool. So I did that on which track is it called? Voodoo Charm, which is definitely like a Jimi Hendrix like shout out. So I was like, well, we gotta go full Hendrix.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, Hendrix was one of my early discoveries too. It's just I remember being really into that.
Yeah. Just put some headphones on and just kind of like get lost in that stuff, especially Electric Ladyland. That album's incredible.
Yeah. You don't, I mean, looking at you first glance, my first thought isn't this guy's, doing ripping bong hits and, listening to psychedelic.
No, I'm not.
Classic rock and headphones.
Smoke anything. I don't really need, I don't, I just like the music. I don't really need any drugs to enjoy it, It's trippy enough as it is.
Yeah. And I mean, Jocko's also another amazing, experience. That's a great thing to pursue as a listener, like really learn about him. And
yeah.
He was kind of a wild
Weather
character
report,
too.
All that stuff. Oh yeah.
I remember my brother told me some story. I don't remember how accurate it is, but he was like, dude, Jocko was like, he was crazy. He would like one time he got up in a restaurant, he just stands up on the table. He's like, I am the greatest bass player in the world. And I don't know,
I've heard something like that
by somebody or something like that.
Yeah. I think he was having a time in the 80s.
Yeah, I bet. All right, cool. So how about the Celeste album you were talking about? Tell us all about that.
Yeah, I think that should be coming out in November. I had the opportunity to work with Celeste. I was working with this band called Gabriel's, and her manager also managed them at the time. And I know they wanted to work with Jeff Basker, who I had worked with a bunch prior. So it kind of worked out where I was working with Jeff, I got to work with Celeste. She's incredible vocalist. Like, I don't know, top 3 vocalists I've gotten to record. One of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a lot of tracking on that one. I mixed one song, but did a lot of tracking for that one.
Well, that's cool. In at different... So tell us. Yeah, tell us about that. Talk to us about stuff that you've discovered about capturing a vocal performance. Even just choosing the correct mic for it.
Yeah. See where to start. Yeah, I guess mic. So with her, it's funny because I have like a theory that if it's a great vocalist, it really doesn't matter what microphone you use, but you can optimize her sound, and it also depended on like what song. I found that like she sounds great on SM7, so we used that on a couple tunes. Jeff had a KU3 or was it the KU4, the AEA like hypercardioid style ribbon mic.
Does it have the slanted front on it?
It has a slanted front. Yeah, that one sounded cool in her voice. I used that. And I think we used a C12. And she sounded great in all of them. Like to me, I was like, doesn't matter. But the main thing with her is she's very dynamic. So leaving a lot of headroom. Again, the gain structure. Like in a vocal instance, and with a vocalist like her, I don't want to hit the preamp too hard. I want to leave a lot of room for dynamics. I think the signal chain was typically like a 1073, a CL1B, and then 1176. And the 1176 was just there as like a safety net and to get gain. Because I find that when I record a CL1B, if you hit the output on that thing too hard, it just distorts in a really terrible way. You just can't. I just don't like how that thing distorts, but I like how it sounds on the input, and I like what the compression does, and I like the tube kind of like it gives it it gives a vocal a bit of class. The CL1B to me, So having 1176 after that kind of allows a little like safety net of like, okay, it's going to catch any peaks. It's not going to distort, and give us a nice, clean, a good level going into Pro Tools. So that was typically what I would use for her. But then making sure that like not hitting the compressor too hard, because I don't want to clamp down on her dynamics.
Are you ready to launch your career in the audio or entertainment business? SAE Institute Nashville, right here in the heart of Music Row, offers hands-on programs to prepare you for the industry. From studio production and live sound to audio for film and a whole lot more. You'll learn by doing, working with professional-grade gear alongside experienced industry pros. If you're more into the business side of entertainment, SAE's Entertainment Business Program teaches essential basics like contracts and promotion to help you navigate the industry. With diploma, associate, or bachelor's degrees, there's a path for everyone. Plus, Career Services supports graduates as they take the next step. Want to see it for yourself? Immerse yourself in Nashville's exciting music scene and book a tour today at nashville.sae.edu or call 615-244-5848. Howdy, rock stars. We're back now for the jam session. My guest today is Ryan Nasci, joining us from Los Angeles. We're talking about all kinds of cool stuff, making some pretty cool records, doing some great mixing, and vocals in particular. So, Ryan, are you ready to jam, dude?
I am. Talk about some vocals.
Dig it. The vocals. You were talking about putting the 1176 at the end of that chain, and I wondered if you wanted to say a little more about that. So, like, for example, some of us might hear that and think, that's a great idea. You put it in there, catch the peaks, and then you look at it and you're like, wait, shit, there's a lot of buttons and knobs, and like, what setting, which button do I push on that? So how do you think about that? Is it like 4-to-1, 20-to-1, all buttons in? How does that work?
I'll do for vocals, for like capturing a vocal, 4-to-1, slow attack, pretty quick release. Yeah, just so I'm catching it. I don't really want to hear the compression. It's just really a safety net. And just for a level too. Because to me, the 1176 is a pretty clean gain on it. So I can just get more gain out of, after the CL1B.
Yeah.
Because like I said, that CL1B.
It can certainly be a not clean gain too.
Yeah,
have you ever taken the 1176 input and just dimed it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. That is a sound for sure. Are you going 20-to-1 or doing like I'll do, like the 3 of the buttons in, or like all buttons in, stuff like that. You could definitely get that thing cooking too, but because
is that part of your setup there?
I know I don't have any hardware 1176 here. I'll use the UA plugins a bunch for that sort of thing.
Yeah, they're quite good for that.
Yeah,
all right, dig it. Well, let me. Sorry, I think we have quite a delay, so go ahead.
Yeah, it's all good.
So some of the records that you've done, another one that was really excellent, I Can't Be Still by Illuminati Hotties.
Yeah, thanks.
That track. Yeah, really, the vocals just sound super wide and cool. Drums are as punchy as hell, man.
Thanks.
With, no competition going on in the low end. Somehow you managed that kick drum to feel like you can hear that resonance and sustain of it, but it's not competing with the bass. Was there anything special about the drum recording and mixing on that record and the vocals mixing that you want to comment on?
Trying to think. I mean, Sarah's a great producer. I've known Sarah for a long time. Singer, producer, guitar player, Illuminati Hotties. I think a lot of it was well recorded. I think there's some drum samples in there, which was helpful. I think I just did my thing on that. I think at that time I just started using the Gold Clip plugin. So playing around with clipping the kick.
Interesting.
Just kind of holding it in a place. So it kind of just like gets to my ears, it kind of sounds like the bottom end is like a bit more square, if that makes any sense. It's not like a big round, like kind of low end that's kind of like loose. It's kind of like tightens up the low end, that gold clip plugin.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I was using that quite a bit around that time to get like the punch. So it also sounds like punchier on smaller speakers too.
Where does a gold clip plugin come from?
Where is it like? What do you mean, like the?
I've never heard that one yet. I'm not.
Oh
don't
yeah,
know
you
that
check
one.
it out. It's called. It's like Schwalbe Audio, Gold Clip. It basically is emulating a Lavery Gold clip plugin.
Oh, right on.
The Lavery Gold clip circuit of the converter, which is like a really high end ADD converter.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then what about the vocals and stuff like that? I mean, like that wide effect on the vocals, that seemed like a really bold treatment.
I'm trying to think. It was either like H3000 plugin or Microshift. I think she like triple tracked her vocals, if I'm not mistaken. I have to listen. I haven't listened to that record in a minute. Yeah, it was probably some kind of like Microshift or H3000 on the vocals to get that width.
Mm-hmm.
And probably, I probably did, like I'll typically do like a parallel compressor, like BF76 or CLA76. I think I've been using RVox a lot lately too, just to like as the first line of compression. Usually helps kind of get things in a place, and then I could hit it more if you want. Yeah, and some kind of distortion. It's probably, I usually have like a parallel. I use the UA 610 and just like overdrive that as a distortion. Kind of adds a little like top end brilliance to the vocals.
The actual physical unit or a plug-in version of it?
Plug-in. Yeah, plug-in, yeah.
Is that UAD as well?
Yeah.
Or is
yeah.
Yeah, that's UAD. Yeah, what's universal? Okay, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, that record sounds really good. And I think I do like sort of tight sounds in that way too. They just seem really crankable, you know?
Yeah. It's definitely a tighter low end.
So check that one out, Rockstars. I Can't Be Still. And we have a playlist in the show notes, Rockstar. So if you want to check these out, you can just go listen there. I think you sent an Apple Music playlist, right?
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of Atmos mixes in there too. Did you do the Atmos mixes also?
I don't. On some of them I do. I don't think I did the Illuminati Hotties one. I don't know if she has Atmos for that. I can't remember. Maybe I did do it.
Yeah, I don't remember specifically. But how do you do when you're mixing an Atmos? How do you do it? Do you have a setup where you are?
I'll do headphones and then I'll go to a studio to finish it. So I'll do like a couple days in headphones and then kind of get things where I think they sound good in headphones. And I'll reference the AirPods a lot because that's, to my mind, it's like that's where most people are going to be listening is AirPods.
Yeah.
AirPod Max.
That's where I listen to it.
Exactly. Or like a HomePod or even the new laptops do Atmos. So I'll bring it into Apple Music on my laptop and see how it sounds on those speakers. Because to me, it's like, it's cool if it sounds good in a proper Dolby room. And that's quite an experience. I think it's you should definitely, if you have a chance to like listen to an Atmos room, you should. It's really fun, but it's just not a practical, like everyday listening environment for most people. So yeah, a lot of referencing on AirPods. But I do think it is worth going in a studio and like checking out and make sure things sound proper. And you do place things a little differently too once you are in an Atmos room, I find. But I can get probably 80% of the way there in headphones. I just use binaural renderer with like a pair of Sony headphones. Does the trick for me.
Well, Sony is in like the MD7506s, those classic ones.
Yep.
Those are Andrew Shep's favorites. Or ones
he
that
did turn me.
Yeah,
I was watching an interview with him. He turned me onto those, and you find them in like any studio basically. So they're pretty common. Yeah,
they were in the first studio I was in. Although I've never actually had them in my studio. I don't know why. I don't know why. But they were in the first studio I was in, and they have a nice hyped quality to them too.
Yeah. I have like a pair of Grado headphones that are okay. Like the open back Grado ones, a little more hi-fi, old school hi-fi. But I just find those Sony ones to be comfortable, and I know how they sound.
Yeah. So if you're working in headphones like the Sonys, have you already would you approach a mix where you're working in speakers at stereo and then you're popping on the headphones to do sort of an Atmos breakout? Or how do you think about that process for yourself?
I like to do, so if I'm mixing the record and I do the stereo and the Atmos mix, I'll make stems and try to keep it close to the stereo mix.
Okay.
And I've gotten mixes. I've done Atmos mixes where I've gotten stems. I've messed around with like starting a mix fully from like, basic tracks and just doing Atmos. I find that, I don't know. I find the best results is just do a stereo mix, make stems, bring that into an Atmos session, and then get on headphones. That's been my workflow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the cool thing about that is you can kind of create the stereo mix from that familiar place of speakers and getting the energy of the music right, and not have to sort of blow your ears up in headphones, right?
Totally.
When you do switch to headphones and you start doing the Atmos mix, have you noticed anything about the volume you like to work at in your headphones?
Just a comfortable volume. I mean, I try to keep my speakers around, like I have that Grace monitor controller, which has SPL meter built in. So I try to keep things not too loud. I do like to feel it. So sometimes it gets a little loud in here, but I try to keep it around, 85 dBA, whatever the recommended listening level. And same with the headphones. I don't go too loud, just a normal listening level.
Also, how old are you?
I'm 36.
36. Okay, cool. Yeah, you still got some young, fresh ears.
I just did the hearing check in these AirPods, and like I have minimal loss. So I'm like, okay, I'm good. I've been taking care of my ears for. I think my left ear is slightly worse than my right because of at Jeff's studio we would play the music pretty loud there, but my
you were working. You were off to the side.
Screen was to the left of the
right?
console. Yep. So my left ear is getting blasted. So
I hate working sideways in the studio.
Yeah,
I hate here. I don't even like it when somebody's talking to me and they're just on one side. I'm like, hold on, let me just switch my seat and I'll just look right at you.
Yeah, fortunately we had like the cart, so you just like cart it, like when it was like I had to do a rough mix or something, I just like cart the cart over and be in the center. But it's always kind of a pain doing that.
Hey, rock stars, imagine sitting down at your DAW with 165 instruments and over 150,000 sounds to choose from. That's what Complete 15 from Native Instruments delivers, the most powerful creative tool in your studio. Inside, you'll find Contact 8, Massive X, Battery, and Guitar Rig 7 Pro, giving you everything you need to create in any genre. Plus, you'll get inspiring sampled instruments like upright bass and electric keys, along with endless expansions to keep your sound fresh. Whether you're producing hip-hop, scoring films, or creating EDM bangers, Complete 15 has you covered. Pair that with Native Instruments control keyboard and machine hardware, and you get next-level integration that makes music creation fast, fun, and seamless. Go to nativeinstruments.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. As we get older too, we start having our threshold gets lower and lower for like what am I trying to say? It gets lower for our what we'll put up with as far as what's slightly awkward, like a slight awkward setup or something. You're just like, all right, no more. I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, I've been dealing with
because you just
stuff
you feel it over
forever.
time.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's pretty exciting, man. So because I haven't really dove into. I've been obviously learning a ton about Atmos, and I've been doing a lot of interviews about it here. But and I'm aware that we can mix in headphones. I just haven't done it myself, and it's really encouraging for me to hear people like yourself talking about just setting it up so that you can get the starter going in headphones, and then you just go complete your mix in a studio. How do you do that? I mean, do you bring your laptop? Do you have to duplicate plugins to be able to listen to it again in the studio, or do you just print the mix and go listen in the studio and take some notes and come back and make the changes in your headphones?
I will commit the plugins that I'm happy with, and I'll try not to use plugins that are too obscure. And I've gone to Ryan Gilligan's, has an Atmos setup, so I know he shares a lot of the same plugins. So, and I usually, when I'm doing Atmos, I really don't use that many plugins. It's more about like panning things, using a few plugins to like sweeten some sounds that need to be sweetened. It's more to me about just like, you can get a lot more low end because of the just a lot more headroom. The -18 LUFS cutoff allows for a lot more headroom. So it's just kind of rebalancing where the bass is hitting for me, and then panning things around and trying to give it some spatial quality.
And do you feel like that's a low end that you notice in the headphones, or you notice it on the big speakers in the Atmos room?
Both, but more in the headphones. Like if you listen to Katy Perry's California Girls in Atmos and then switch it to the stereo, the amount of kick drum in the Atmos mix is crazy. And I think it's great. It's super cool. You don't really notice it in the stereo, which makes sense because it wasn't mixed for it was mixed for car speakers and the mall and stuff like that. So everything needed to be small and to fit in those smaller speakers. But Atmos, you could have the full kick drum and have the weight of it. So I love how that record sounds in Atmos.
So that is a pretty cool point. That's a good reminder for us too, that we can experience new ways to think about how the music goes together with the difference in formats.
Totally. Yeah. I think that's really important, is like where the music's going to be heard, and that's how you put it together. If you intend it to be this big orchestral thing and you want people to sit down and listen, it could be a bit more dense. It could have more low end. But if it's a pop record that's meant to be on radio or for a commercial or something, you don't really need all that information. I find. I think it's better to just kind of keep things smaller and keep things more lean and turn up the stuff that's more important, and maybe have the balance could be a little wacky, but have the important elements be louder.
Yeah, well, for example, Illuminati Hotties, I felt like I noticed this bold treatment of the kick drum so that you could really read this quality to the sound. And then the bass was sort of tucked back as opposed to both trying to compete.
The kick drum won in that instance. I think that's a good point. Yeah, sometimes the bass guitar wins, sometimes the kick wins. Sometimes they're kind of muddling each other in a good way.
Yeah, how do you feel like you arrive at that decision creatively?
The low end's usually just a battle of like, when it feels right, that's when it's like, okay, whoever ends up winning is because it feels good in the room, feels good in the headphones. I'll go check in the car sometimes and see if it feels right in the car. Mainly based on feel. Nothing really. I guess if the bass line's like more interesting than like whatever kick pattern's happening, or like if the kick isn't like as important to the drum groove, the bass will win. Or if it's more about the backbeat as opposed to like how the kick is moving, that depends too. But yeah, it's really just making it feel correct, making it feel right. Was
it Pat Benatar that said love is a battlefield? When in fact, bass is a battlefield.
Yeah, the bass is a battlefield. It's bass. I used to have nightmares in college about like miking kick drums. Like, just could not get the sound right in my dreams. Oh yeah, and still struggle to this day.
Have you owned a Coles 4038? Because you can have some nightmares about kick drums with that mic too. That's for sure.
I'm sure. I've used them. I don't own them, but I've used them plenty of times. Yeah,
it's a good way to blow the ribbon out. Okay, so now let's talk about Gabriel's, because that is like a holy shit record. Taboo, for example, This track sounds like wild jazz meets Tom Waits,
Yep.
but with a
It's a
huge cinematic
cool
sound
record.
to it. And then the vocals are just like so. You just feel like you're so inside the sound of the vocal. It might as well just be behind your head a little bit, like it's just passed right through you, you know. And there's a lot of detail in all the enunciation that comes through. So talk a little bit about that, and how do you get that kind of sound? What sort of stuff have you learned? I mean, you mentioned earlier that recording those vocals meant, it slightly doesn't matter which mic you're putting on because the voice comes through. But there must be other elements to the way that you retain that quality and you respect that quality in the mix that, really highlights the detailed quality of the voice.
Yeah. So Jacob Lusk is the singer for Gabriel's, and yeah, he's another vocalist that is just incredible to record. Such a fun time recording him. Also extremely dynamic. So another vocalist where getting the gain structure correct is crucial to capturing him, not getting it blown out and making sure it could sound big. So Ryan and Ari are the other two members, and they did a lot of work of like figuring out which microphone works best for Jacob. And they determined that it was like a U47 worked for him. So we use a U47, and again, I use 1073. I think I use a CO1B. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if I use 1176. It was probably a CO1B. So I just had to be careful with like the output of it, especially with him, because he's super dynamic. Like he'll be 1 minute he'll be singing super quiet, and then all of a sudden he'll like scream, and like everything overloads, and you're like, oh no. So
well, what's fascinating is when you listen to the mix, the vocals sit in a consistent place all the time. And, you're describing it as they start out as this super dynamic thing. So that must be a huge part of it too, is like carefully capturing the wild swings of dynamics, but then somehow translating that into something that is way under control by the time you listen to it.
Yeah, but if you capture
does
all
that
the
feel like
dynamics,
a reasonable description?
Yeah, totally. Because you want to make sure it's like you're not like all of a sudden listening to the record and like you lose the vocal or it's jumping out at you. But if you capture the dynamics, they're there in the recording, and then you can kind of manipulate it after the fact. And that was actually the record we used the ATR on with the 3.75 Ips on. Because we wanted
cool.
that. I wanted that Billie Holiday kind of jazz thing where she's like super close. So I was trying to get it older sounding. So using that tape machine and that low speed we were able to kind of like lop off some of the top end and some of the bottom end, but it wasn't like a filter. It was just what the tape was doing to the signal. And then I think that helped get it kind of super close to your face. And then having the effects
it definitely sounds like that.
Yeah, and like I think so Matt from Beach Noise mixed that record. And he mixed it. He actually came to the studio, and we were like, I was kind of there while they were mixing it. We were tracking some stuff, and he did a lot of like tape slap and stuff like that. So yeah, and trying to get the effects not to be in the way as well.
Yeah, and a very, very cool sound to the whole record too. It really does have a sense of space when you're listening to it. It's like, whoa. And I think that one might have been an Atmos too. So I was probably listening in the headphones.
Nice.
One of the challenges I know when we're dealing with a lot of follow-up compression in the mix, we're taking a dynamic vocal and we're trying to make sure all that detail is up front, is we can be faced with aggressive sibilants, aggressive consonants, ch, t, t, those kind of things. Have you learned some ways to address that yourself, where you can get the combination of like going crazy with how aggressive you are in the compression, but then handling those kind of things that leap out?
Yeah, a lot of the times I'll just go through by hand and clip gain down S's and T's and K's and plosives, and try and just clip gain them first, and then hit a compressor, and then hit a de-esser, and then hit a compressor. It's kind of a layered approach. Sometimes I'll put a de-esser first, typically I'll put a de-esser like last in the chain just to catch anything else that comes through. But yeah, I think going through first and clip gaining down the S's and T's and consonants allows you to kind of boost it after the fact. And then also,
okay, cool. As opposed to boosting it and then clip gaining it.
Yeah. So it gets clip gain, or I'll track it, clip gain down the T's and S's, and then you can compress, and then do another layer of like a de-esser or something after that, which helps.
Look, when it comes to finishing your music, nothing compares to iZotope Ozone 12. This is a complete mixing and mastering suite of tools with 20 pro modules to shape your sound. You'll find the new bass control for a tight, powerful low end, new unlimiter to restore life to overcompressed tracks, and new stem EQ so you can rebalance vocals and drums and bass without even opening the mix session. And when it's time to make your music loud, the IRC5 Maximizer gives you loud, clean mixes and masters that still sound open and clear. Save time with AI-powered workflows that keep you in the driver's seat. Ozone 12 takes the guesswork out, but you stay in control so your music translates everywhere, from streaming to stage. Go to iZotope.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Now, are you clip gaining down all those things and listening to it through the compressor at the same time so you can hear the result?
Yeah.
Is it sort of that?
Yeah, because you don't want to
about it.
Yeah. I'll do
You're
it.
not just guessing,
like as I'm mixing. Yeah, I'll typically I'll slap a compressor on to like start mixing and like kind of get a sound, and then the S's and T's will start annoying me. So then I'll go back and deal with that.
Yeah.
Or I'll get to a point where like, I know I need to fix these S's and T's. Let me just do this. Let me just like take a minute, take 5 minutes and go through and fix all of it.
And it's probably surprising how much you have to clip gain those down to arrive at the thing you want.
Usually at least like 4 dB or so, sometimes more. You don't want to clip gain it too much to where they sound like they have a lisp. That doesn't sound good either. A little bit of harshness isn't a bad thing sometimes.
Right on. Okay, cool. And then there was another track, Angels and Queens. And I think, the comment I had there was, how do you work with the vocals so the lead sits perfectly frequency-wise while the backgrounds can feel stacked but maybe also dark tonally. And yet sometimes the wide vocals were also like bright and present. Like you did, it seemed like there was a great juxtaposition of different vocal tones with the different parts coming in, which can be, it can be very effective because if all of our vocals all sort of sound the same, then they might step on each other. But when we come up with ways to, dark and bright and light and all that, it gives it an ability to live together, right?
Yeah. I like to think of it as like front to back. Like if somebody's further away from you, you're going to have less like of a chesty sound. You're going to have less top end if they're further back. So if a background vocals, like if you like look on stage, they're like, a few feet behind the lead singer. So trying to like place them in that aspect, not as like I don't think of it as like height. I think of it as like depth. So try to create like a space. And I think with Jacob, when we cut some of the backgrounds, he would stand off mic and sing parts. And for different layers, you have him move around the microphone, different spots. That helps a lot. That helps a ton.
It really does. I love doing that trick. And sometimes I do it with other singers. And when I'm singing myself and building background vocals, I just sort of instinctively find spots and do that. And it's always kind of amazing. You can be just like completely off the mic and like, oh, well, that sounds good like that,
Yeah, totally. And then you don't have to like do any EQing after the fact either. It kind of just like slots into place.
Yeah. And then some of the tricks that I'll do sometimes is, stand back. And then if I'm going to really stack a vocal, I'll be like, I'll sing one. Let's say, here's my mic here. Maybe sing one here, then sing the next one there. Next one back that way, and the next one back that way.
Yep.
And then you got your
we
four
did a lot of
vocals,
that. We did
like,
that with.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. We did that. So to record all the violins and the viola and the strings for that record, we had like a 3 mic array. So we did like 2 U67s for the left and right and an M49 in the middle. And then Ari,
Right
he
on.
just played all the strings himself, and he would just kind of walk around the room, play the parts. So for some of the vocals I used those mics for Jacob. So we'd have him walk around, like the same treatment, walk around the room. So you already get the panning, with him just moving around the room, which is great too.
That's super cool.
That
where
spatial.
was the studio that you guys were recording that stuff?
We were at Conway for that one. Yeah.
At
They
Conway.
did
So
some of
this
the
is in a
recordings at
big room?
Sunset. Yeah, we were in I think we were in A, which is the smaller of the 2 big rooms. They have 3 rooms there. They have an SSL room, and then they have 2 Neve rooms with 88RS, modified 88RS consoles. And C is like the larger live room. A is a small, it's still pretty big, but it's all like wood, has like a nice warm sound to it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we were in A. But those rooms sound great. They're incredible. They're incredible rooms.
That's great. That's, I got a little bit of exposure to that. Did some work at Sunset Sound. I never got to see Conway, but the guys I was working with had just come back from there, so I heard all the
nice.
Tracks that they had done. And just those in like Ocean Way, some of those rooms, but just the rooms and the quality of the rooms and the way the wood sounds and the way drums sound in certain spaces, it's just really remarkable.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're definitely lucky in LA to have these rooms that still are available to use and are well maintained, and they had the staff. Like East West is my favorite drum room by far. Studio 2 at East West. It's you put the drums in the spot they're supposed to go in, and you just mic it up normally, and they'd always sound incredible.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a blessing in LA to have these rooms.
Now, have you also spent a bunch of time in home studio environments recording and like seeking out sounds that you really like? And how does that stack up against, things you learned about knowing particular rooms and just saying it doesn't really matter? Like if I want that sound, I know that I just go to that room and get that sound.
Yeah, I think you have to be a bit more creative in the home recording world, and kind of use what you have to your disposal. Because the nice thing is, typically, a lot of homes have similar rooms, but they're not going to have the same furniture. It's not going to be kind of laid out the same. So you could find unique sounds in your own home studio space. So I think that's important. Like I was living with my roommate in LA, my friend Mitch Rolland, and we were working on a record. He would play drums and guitar. I'd play bass and record everything, and he would sing. And we used to record in our little bungalow house in Mount Washington, like east side of LA. And I used to like mic up the radiator, like the gas heater thing, to get like a sound off the drums for that. And mess around with like using maybe
a resonant ring.
Yeah, it was kind of like it's kind of like a plate reverb sort of vibe, sort of thing. Just added some like weirdness to it, and then playing around with like using a kick mic, a snare mic, and then the overhead mic, in quotes, is kind of the best place the drums sound in the room, to where things are in phase but they're not too washed out. So I think you definitely have to be more creative. And you don't get those classic sounds, but you could get some really cool sounds and something more unique sometimes.
Yeah, it's really fun that's what I love about studios. It's just like once you're in, you're in, you just like, it's all cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Groovy. Well, let me jump into some of our jam session questions here. Cool. When you started out in recording, what do you feel like was holding you back, man?
What was holding me back? I think just experience and like just time listening and time like understanding, what frequencies are what. I think I remember my internship in CRC in Chicago. I asked one of the older engineers, I was like, how did you know to boost that frequency? He's like, I don't know, I just know. I was like, okay, so that's not super helpful, but now I understand. It's like, after you do it so many times, you just know, okay, 2K for this vocal with like a certain amount of dB is going to sit right. So it's just, the repetition, I think, starting out, I didn't really quite understand. But the only way to gain that is just keep doing it.
Yeah, dig it. All right, cool. Good thought. And then how about some of the best advice you remember receiving along your journey?
Best advice. I'm trying to think.
What about working with, going out there to LA for the first time?
I would say, I guess I'm trying to think of like what Tony would say. Yeah, I just think just like being prepared, showing up on time,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. Kind of being ready for the opportunities that get presented to you. I think was super helpful to me. And understanding, the tools you work with. I think that was helpful knowing that.
Are you recording your own music or other people's music in your studio, but you're having trouble figuring out how to get your mixes to sound great? Do they sound weak and distant or lack punch and clarity? Well, I've got a gift for you to help you take your mixes from sounding like basement demos to sounding a lot more like professional mixes. And it's my free course called Mix Master Bundle. This course will show you how to get pro-sounding mixes from your home studio with free and stock plugins and Pro Tools. And the best part is these mixing techniques will work for you in any DAW, whether you're in Logic, Cubase, PreSonus Studio One, Reaper, or anything you can think of. Are you ready to make your best record ever? Then go to mixmasterbundle.com to get started for free now, and you can find the clickable link in the show notes of this episode. All right, groovy. So how about sharing a recording tip, hack, or secret sauce with the Rockstars, something they could use on their next record?
Let's see, a tip or hack.
Just anything. It could be like a big one, or it could be something that you just discovered the other day that you were digging.
I would say parallel compression for vocals. If you have Pro Tools, BF76 is your friend.
Yeah, man. I just rediscovered the BF76.
It's great. Great for backgrounds.
It's awesome.
Yeah. That thing for you just, and then also EQ your returns for reverbs. I would say always EQ your return, and then I've been using a longer pre-delay for reverbs, longer than you think. That's kind of what I've been doing, like 90 milliseconds or something.
Describe the feeling of EQing that reverb when it comes back, and why the Rockstar should care. What will they discover when they check it out?
It kind of creates more space between the dry signal and the reverb. Because if you're not going to EQ it and put any pre-delay on it, it kind of becomes like this washy kind of vocal reverb sound, as opposed to like you listen to the classic records and you could clearly hear the reverb and you could clearly hear the vocal, and they're kind of working as to create depth. So if you want to create more depth, it's all about EQing that reverb, or EQing the signal before the reverb too. Only getting like
it's kind of separating the reverb from the source a little bit more, right?
Totally. Yeah.
All right, dig it. How about a favorite hardware tool or something like physical that you're excited about having with you in the studio?
I just ordered my first piece of Audioscape hardware. I ordered their
dig it, right on.
The new E-Series bus. So I haven't used it yet. I'm excited to use it because I've been trying to figure out, like, I'll try like the SSL the Waves SSL comp. I'll use the SSL branded SSL comp. I'll use the UA SSL comp, and like they all sound different. And sometimes like I'll use, on a mix, I'll use like, depending on the mix, depending on which one sounds best, I'm like, just give me a hardware compressor that sounds good. I'm going to use that. I'm going to commit to that. So I'm excited to dive into that thing. So hopefully it can replace.
So that means you'll have multiple as your mixing setup there. You'll have multiple, and you like A/B them and pick one to run with, or you're just going to get this one and that's going to be your one in the studio now.
I'm going to get this one because right now I've been like A/Bing and like trying to decide which one, because sometimes like, well, this one sounds good. Like the low end sounds better with like the UA one, or like the Waves one has a bit more of a glue sound to it. So I'm just like, enough of that. Let me just get a hardware piece. I'm just gonna roll with that, see how that goes. So
it
I'm
is
excited
fun.
for that.
It's fun to have a real compressor. I have something that is called the Stereo Elvis. It was a kit piece that Chad Brown built,
Nice.
and that I acquired from him. And it's got a thing, you know. So it's like, you know, I go back and listen to some of the old mixes where I would run it out through that, and I'm like, damn, that sounds cool as shit, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Something you can't quite get with the plugins.
yeah. So that means when you're mixing through hardware like that, you're doing recalls. As you pull up a mix, you're recalling the settings on that compressor.
Yeah, I
Or
used
do
to
you like
use
to?
a software.
Yeah.
I used to use a software called T-Boy. Um, I haven't used it in a while because they just haven't updated for the new OSs. So now a lot of it's just like if I'm using the coils, I'll just in the comments I'll mark like, you know, the output's at like 2 o'clock, and the NF, which is like the tone knob, is at like 3 o'clock or whatever. So I'll note
Right
that
on.
down.
Yeah, and
I think
iPhones are
there's
great. You're
another.
just taking photos of things is so handy
The
these days.
photos I find though, to me, it's like then I have a ton of photos on my phone. I think I'm in a pinch and
Right.
I need to recall it. It's just like organizing more folders and stuff. I'd rather just put it in the comments, be like, okay. Or like if I on my Burl, if like I'm running a mix and I know I'm gonna typically keep it at like -18 to start as like the neutral
Yeah.
default setting. I won't note that, but if I change it in the comments and like the master fader and Pro Tools, I'll just note like where it's at.
Right.
The MAS, the Overstair MAS, I don't touch. It just stays. And
Yeah.
if it's in, it's in. If it's out, it's out.
Well, to
And
your
then the other
point,
thing
you
is,
know, if
and
I
then
was
the
going to say
other like,
a photo can be great, but you know, if it's too complex of a solution, if it's too enormous of a solution, then you know, just a note, a comment
yeah,
is handy.
a lot of the equipment I have doesn't have that many knobs, so it's pretty easy to just like note where it's at and then kind of recall it.
Drop us a favorite software tool, something you're excited about in the software world.
The H3000 plugin's great. The new one, the Mark II. I've been using that for a while now. That one's really good. Gold Clip I mentioned, fantastic plugin if you want to make things loud. Been checking out Highfall, which is another same company as Gold Clip. Kind of does like a top end kind of magic, kind of tames the top end but keeps it bright. Been messing with that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And what's that one called again?
Highfall.
Highfall.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Is it Schwab Digital? I can't pronounce that guy's name.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, Schwabi Digital. That's the.
Give us something from your perspective. You know, either a tip or you know some kind of advice or a resource for the business side of doing this. So obviously you've stepped into wanting to do records for a career, and you have to address you have to address that as a business ultimately. So what do you feel like you want to share about that topic?
I would say if you get in a situation where someone's offering you a publishing deal or anything on that side of things, keep your publishing as long as you can, unless they give you a ton of money. Find a good music lawyer to help out with deals. Try to set a rate, like a day rate. Like if you're engineering, set a decent day rate and try to stick to that. I find like the hourly wages aren't really relevant. And also like, you don't want to keep things by an hour and then have to bill somebody an hour and like add an extra hour. It's just easier if it's like a half day rate, a day rate. If you work 12 hours or 14 hours, it is what it is. That's kind of the name of the game. Yeah. I find it's a good way to do things just by day rate. Yeah, definitely find if you're starting out and you're starting to do mixes or you're like doing a pub deal, anything with, signing contracts, just find a good music lawyer who's got your back. There's definitely people out there. To me, that's
Awesome
been the
advice.
most important thing for me. Yeah.
Awesome advice. All right. So closing question. This one I love to ask all our guests. We get to take the Wayback Studio machine, and you go back in time and you find young Ryan, who's just, wearing his tie-dye t-shirt and listening to Hendrix and a pair of headphones and smoking a joint in the quadrangle. Okay, maybe that wasn't you, but you find young Ryan and you say, listen, dude, I've come back to give you this one bit of advice. Here's the single most important thing you need to know to be a rock star of the studio yourself one day. What advice do you feel like going back and giving yourself if you could?
I would just tell myself to, just keep working hard. Don't give up. Be bold, I think, is a good advice to have.
Get that tape machine.
Yeah. Get the tape machine sooner rather than later would be the best advice, I think.
Right on.
Yeah. Just record as much as you can.
Right on.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Well, dude, thanks so much for joining us on the show, man. It's been great hanging with you and getting to meet you.
Yeah, thank you.
Can you let the rock stars
same.
know more about how can they find you or reach you online? What if they're ready to make their next hit record and you're just the guy? I mean, how do they, or if they got questions for you or whatever?
Yeah, if questions or if you want to chat or reach out, you could reach me at I have my website at ryannasci.com. Instagram too, just Ryan_Nasci. Pretty simple.
And Rockstars, that's Nasci.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome, dude. So and then, are you on social media? You said Ryan_Nasci.
Yeah, on Instagram. I don't do too much Instagram, so. But if you DM me, cool. I'll get back to you if you want to chat or have any questions or want to mix something or whatever. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for joining us, Rockstars. Thank you so much for hanging with us here too and listening and watching this. If you're listening to the audio, remember we're on YouTube, so just come on over and check out these awesome videos. And if you're already on YouTube and you've got questions for us, please like and subscribe so that you can get more of the interviews from us here. And it also really helps out the channel, and it helps these interviews reach more rock stars like yourself. And then comments too. If you've got comments or questions, or you just want to tell us that you love something or you hated something or you think something was great or bad or whatever, man, drop it in because we want to hear from you. Ryan, thanks so much for hanging with us, dude. And I look forward to seeing you around the studio. All right,
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Cheers.
All right. Have a good one.
Thanks so much for listening to Recording Studio Rockstars. If you enjoyed the show and want to help make it better, then please share this episode with your friends on social media and leave a rating and review on iTunes to help the podcast reach more rock stars like yourself. You can click directly over to iTunes or go to rsrockstars.com/review for an easy explanation. And remember to hit the subscribe button to keep up with weekly episodes. And if you're ready to make your best record ever now, then head over to Recording Studio Rockstars Academy, where you can start with my free course at mixmasterbundle.com. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks for being a rock star. I'm Lid Shaw, and this is Recording Studio Rockstars. Now, go make great music. Recording Studio Rockstars would like to give a big thank you to our fantastic sponsors who help make this episode possible. iZotope, Native Instruments, Atom Audio, SAE Institute, Spectra 1964, and Picker. And remember to take advantage of our special coupon code ROCK10 for 10% off at iZotope.com and nativeinstruments.com for any plugin purchase. Don't forget, you can start mixing right now with my free course, Mix Master Bundle. You'll find the link in the show notes below. And if you enjoyed Recording Studio Rockstars, please check out our sponsors also in those links in the show notes. These are all things I highly recommend for your studio. They are going to help you make your best record ever. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this, it's a great way to help support the show, and I really appreciate it, and I thank you as well. I'd also like to thank our fantastic team here at Recording Studio Rockstars: Vlad Weselchenko, Jeffrey Simmons, and Max Young. Thank you so much for watching and listening, Rockstars, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.